Shalom. We are in the book of Devarim, the first Torah portion within the last book of the Torah. So we're heading towards the fall festival time frame. We just came from the fourth month. We're currently in the fourth month. We celebrated the 28th of the fourth month. That was Friday, Saturday, previous Friday, Saturday, which is basically in the middle of the menorah pattern regarding the Moedim. So we are slowly moving towards Tishri, which is the seventh month, which has to do with the fall festivals. So now our focus, as you travel through the wilderness, we've came from Egypt, we faced the mountain, received the tablets, and now we are heading through the wilderness towards the promised land. And our theme of last week's double Torah portion, Matot Masei, was about entering the promised land, or just prior to entering the promised land, crossing the Jordan. And this Torah portion is about repeating the law, the second law, or the double law, or the repeating or renewing of the law or the covenant at the point of crossing the Jordan. Now, Deuteronomy 1 verse 1 referenced the river Jordan. So that is our time frame of the book of Devarim, is right on the border of entering the promised land. So from a prophetic perspective, if you look at the pattern of the 5 books, then Devarim or Deuteronomy is the last book of the Torah. And if you look at all the books in the Bible, including the Brit Hadashah or the New Testament, the book of Revelation is the last book of the Bible, and that basically connects Devarim with Revelation. And Revelation is about the revelation of Yeshua the Messiah. That's the title of the book of Revelation. It's not about doom and gloom and all those things as a main topic. The main topic is the revealing of Mashiach. That means the appearing of Yeshua the Messiah during his second coming. And that is what the book of Revelation is about. Now, if you think about the appearing of Yahweh, which I believe is Yeshua the Messiah, on Mount Sinai, what spectacular event that was, with earthquakes and a dark cloud and sounding of a trumpet. It's an awesome experience that instilled a lot of fear within the people. In the same way, when Yeshua will appear again, he will have the same appearance and instill fear in humanity. Why is that? Is it because he wants to do that? No, it's just because he's powerful. Now, in the previous Torah portion, I did mention that whenever the physical and the spiritual meets, whenever the light and the darkness meet, that is when you get the massive reaction. It's like a chemical reaction of two extreme chemicals coming in contact with one another. If you just think about wind is an extreme low pressure system, an extreme high pressure system, and the flow from the one to the other one can cause hurricanes, storms, and even destruction, and cause death. It's just two extreme forces. In the same way, the forces of the physical, the lowest parts, which is depicted by the most southern part of the Jordan, which is the Dead Sea, which is basically Sheol and the kingdom of the south, will meet the King of Kings of the kingdom of the north. And those two extremes will have the power flow of energy that will cause all the events recorded in the book of Revelation. It's just Yeshua appearing in his holiness in a place of darkness, and the light will displace the darkness with force because of its nature. So, putting that into context, we now have to think about, when we read the book of Devarim, with slightly different mindset. Just like the 14th of Nisan is a day of preparation for the 15th, where the final plague took place, the death of the firstborn and the leaving of Egypt. In the same token, the book of Devarim, prior to crossing the Jordan, is the time of preparation, prior to the main event, the Jordan, where we will leave the physical and enter into the spiritual through the context of the Jordan, which is a 3.5 year process, which is referred to as the Great Tribulation, the Great Birth, the Great Atonement, where a multitude of nations will come to faith. And we are supposed to be present to conduct the harvest, to be part of the woman who is currently pregnant, who will give birth and will nurture the new babies. And at the end, a multitude of people that you cannot number will stand before the throne of Yahweh, because they came out of the Great Tribulation. That is the birth, the reborn of all those people alive, that are currently alive, that will go through that period. So the book of Devarim is basically a preparation for the pregnant woman, which we refer to as the bride. Now there's also another pregnant woman, which is the foolish virgin, representing the foolish virgins, also referred to in the book of Revelation as the harlots, part of the harlots. And she has a mother, and the mother is the whore of Babylon, or Jezebel, who is the female representation of Korach, who will cause many people within many religions and denominations to submit to her in order to establish the system of Babylon that will come against the people of Yahweh eventually. So all of that in place, we now see the end time process. And what is the benefit of the book of Deuteronomy? Why is the Torah now repeated for this new audience? Now, practically back in the day, in the time of Moses and Joshua, the Torah is repeated in the presence of the new generation. Remember, the old generation died off in the wilderness, and now their children, the new generation, is about to enter the promised land, and they need to hear the Torah from Moses' mouth before they enter. First-hand experience hearing the Torah, and then preparing themselves with the Torah in order to become part of the army of Yahweh, and then take care of the enemies that are still within the land, of which the enemy within is the greatest. So the Torah will help you to overcome the enemy within, and also overcome the enemy, the external one, that will come against us during the Great Tribulation. Now, for those who still believe that we are going to be raptured, well, I will have to disappoint you, because that ain't going to happen. Because according to Matthew 24, the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man will coincide with the gathering of the bride. And it says in Matthew 24, immediately after the Great Tribulation. And we saw the confirmation in the Parashah Pinchas, when he took a javelin or a spear and he killed symbolically the Nachash, and then the plague stopped. And that's how Yeshua, the Messiah, will appear and destroy the kingdom, the Nachash, the woman, the whore of Babylon, which is currently committing adultery with his people. And that will stop the plague, which is the Great Tribulation. So there's many layers and patterns that confirm what is going to happen. But for us, entering into this new book, Devarim, it's all about preparing the bride. It's all about equipping the saints. It's all about getting foolish virgins to become wise virgins, to confront them with the truth, in a loving way. If people don't want to hear, you just dust your feet off and move on. Those who want to hear, you spend time with them and teach them the Torah and Yahweh's ways. So that is our mission and the reason for this book. So I hope we can explore all those things that Yahweh wants us to know as we prepare for His coming. And we are going to dissect the book of Deuteronomy or Devarim in order to glean the wisdom and the gems embedded within His Torah, so that we can be part of the wise virgins that will give birth and also nurture those new babies. You need to be equipped in the Word in order to help those, and we need to be able to disciple newborn believers and give them context of what is going on in the midst of things that are going to happen, so that we can bring many to faith as we relate real-time events with the scriptures and see prophecy fulfilled in our day. Now, the first thing we need to look out for that will signal the start of the Great Tribulation, it's not the vaccination. It's not the sign of the Antichrist. Yes, it's of the same pattern, but it's not that yet. The mark of the beast will only kick in after the 3.5 years started. There need to be 3 things happening prior to that will give us a sense of where we're at. We have to keep our eyes on the Temple Institute. They are currently breeding red heifers. And if there's a red heifer, they will sacrifice that red heifer and take the ashes and cleanse the area of the Temple Mount. Now, I heard this weekend the new leader in Israel, he wants to take back the Temple Mount and rebuild the temple. So now we see a political entity pushing towards prophecy and the fulfillment of prophecy, where our Jewish brothers will want to start the construction of the temple. They already have everything in place, even the blueprint, the plans of the new temple. They've got a mobile altar which they can set up on the Temple Mount to sacrifice the red heifer, or even sacrifice the first Passover lamb, which I think will be the second sign. So the first one is the sacrifice of the red heifer, or even the existence of the red heifer in our day, then the sacrifice of the red heifer, and then around about Passover they will want to sacrifice a Passover lamb, because it's the first sacrifice in the first feast within the Moedim cycle. And they've attempted that, I think, since 2010, trying to do that. They already got the Levites trained up to do so. And the next thing that will happen after that is the second witness, which will be the abomination that will be set up after they stop these sacrifices. I believe the lamb sacrifice will be the first, and then it will initiate daily sacrifices. Whether that's going to happen immediately after the Passover sacrifice, I don't know, but they will stop those sacrifices. And then, according to Daniel, when you see the abomination of desolation set up, whatever that might be, we'll recognize it when it appears, because it will be coinciding the event of the sacrifice being stopped. And then we count the Omer, which is the Omer of the Great Tribulation, 1,620 days, I believe. And at the end of that, which is ironically a 3.5 year period, if it starts on a Passover, it will definitely end on a trumpets, which is the second sign of the second coming of Mashiach, at the end of the Great Tribulation, which coincide with the blowing of the trumpets, specifically the last trumpet as revealed in the book of Matthew. So that's basically the roadmap, what we need to find and adhere to. And we are still in counting the Omer mode. We are counting the prophetic cycles. We're also going to count the physical days when we see those signs. And immediately at that time, I think the abomination of desolation that's set up will be a leader that will be announced within the Temple Mount area, which is referred to as the holy place. And I believe that is the authority of the Antichrist that will be set in place, and that will after that, he will enforce the mark of the beast, which will have the similar pattern of the vaccination, I believe, where people will be forced to take it. Those who don't want to take it, they won't be able to buy and sell. Now, what coincides with this is what's happening in the world regarding digital finances. Now, I've done a lot of research in that area. Now, there's one crypto token or currency that has been developed. It's called Ripple or XRP, and if you type that into the gematria, you'll find the word the beast and Ripple the storm. The storm is coming, and basically this software is going to be a worldwide network that will connect all banks all around the world. Now, this software has the ability to do super fast transactions at a very low fee, and that is developed to transfer money from one country to another. That will replace the current system that they have, and there are over, I think, 500 world banks already having contracts with Ripple to make this happen. Now, there's also been spoken about the Great Reset. Now, the Great Reset has been forecasted by the person, I can't remember his name, where they make the movie of him, which is called The Big Short, I think, where he shorted the market in the time of 2008, 2009, where the housing bubble burst. Now, he predicts there will going to be another global event where the whole world economy will reset by about 80 to 90%. So another GFC is coming our way, and I expect this to happen around September, October this year, or maybe in the next year. And currently Ripple is facing a lawsuit by the SEC, and they are holding back into allowing them to basically implement this. And I think this has to do with making sure the timing aligns. And I believe the Great Reset will be when they implement the new software system, which is Ripple, that will be a global financial system. And I think they are going to replace the US dollar with Ripple in order to be the world currency through which every country will trade. Not only that, China and numerous countries made their own electronic version of their currency, and they call those stable coins, which is a cryptocurrency which they link to the US dollar or to the Chinese currency. So every country already have their own stable coins in place in order to connect to Ripple and then trade electronically. Now, the main drive of this is to have cyber security, and Ripple provides the blockchain technology that provide the security at super fast speeds at a very low transaction cost. And as I said, it's already been adopted by most banks. So when this happens, the Great Reset, then we have the global money system that coincide with the beast system, the mark of the beast. It's not that Ripple is the mark of the beast, it's a mechanism that will be executed in order to switch someone off. If they don't comply, you won't be able to buy and sell. Now, there are other tokens that is working with Ripple, XLM or Stellar. That's the one similar to Ripple, but will be used to trade within a country as an individual. And there are numerous other ones they set up as well. So the whole banking system is currently being built, and it's not connected to Bitcoin as many people think. Ripple is a controlled, institutionalized system based on the blockchain technology that will form part of the world banking system, and the adoption is going to happen most probably end of July, August, and I think the Great Reset will follow around the time of the harbingers, which is normally September, October of every year. So I don't know if Jonathan Kahn had anything to say around harbingers and what needs to happen, but most of the times a global reset always happened within a cycle of 7 years prior to the previous one. So I still need to do my research and see where we're at. But that's my 2 cents on this. Just putting things in perspectives, recognizing that things are being put in place, and for this whole system to be switched on, so to speak, for this end time prophecies to come true in our day. So I'll leave you with that. I hope it was an interesting talk, and I will speak to you soon. Have a wonderful day.